That ending page hype on this chapter of One Piece. Yo. So, Doffy was about to do, like, the killing blow, and then all of a sudden you had it to where Luffy blocked his foot. I mean, they just did the epic stare down in the final panels, and then the chapter ends. Like, that face with Luffy, that's like the face of, this is it, we're done. Now, let's finish this right now. Like, that's the face Luffy just gave Doffy at the end of the chapter. So, clearly, the fight is coming to an end very soon. So, before I get to that, let's talk about the, essence of this chapter. Before I get into the law-specific stuff, let's just talk about the beginning that has to do with the birdcage. So, Doffy clarifies that the birdcage shrinking is actually his doing. He is shrinking the birdcage, and they have 1 hour until the birdcage is pretty much done, fillets everything inside the town. And so, as we know when it comes to villains of manga or anime, they don't know how to tell time, because look at Frieza, and, 1 hour could be, 2 chapters, 1 hour could be, 100 chapters, we have no idea. I mean, it depends on how long the writing takes place. But, besides the 1 hour thing, just seeing that there is a time limit and things are starting to heat up, we know we are reaching closer and closer to the end of this fight of Dressrosa. Now, moving into Law. So, Law is confirmed to be alive. He is not dead. And as I said, I didn't think he would die. I thought he was dead, but I didn't know if he was dead. It's just the point of it was I was shocked because in last chapter, it just did not feel like that would be the finale of Law. Like, I just couldn't, grasp that concept. And in this chapter, we come to find out Law is alive. So, Law survived, and how did he do this? That's the big question we have to wonder when it comes to this chapter. Now, I read both translations. I read the Manga Panda and I read the Manga Stream translation. The Manga Panda translation, oh my god, just, as always, very atrocious. And then the Manga Stream translation, it clarified a lot of things. So I'm going to kind of reference more to the Manga Stream translation. So we come to find out that Law, the reason how he survived the gunshots to the back last week was that he did a body swap. He used the Shumbles, and he kind of changed bodies with this other person that was below the palace that was kind of already dead, and that dude took all the shots to the back and died, and then Law teleport himself back to where he was, and then he attacked Doffy. So that is how he survived the bullets. More things too. Law also made it to where Doffy missed all his vital organs. He was using his shambles and he was moving his vital organs around, I'm guessing, inside of him to be able to have his vital organs fine. So that is kind of why Law was fine at the end of the day when he got shot so many times. So now that we can move past that, we also have it to where he attacks Doffy. Now, when he attacks Doffy in the chapter, he uses this new move called Gamma Knife. And this Gamma Knife, oh my god, that sounds pretty fucking brutal, like, oh my god. Because you have it to where Law, he grabbed him and did, like, this Gamma Knife to Doffy. We come to find out that this move is, like, one of Law's best moves, and it destroys the, like, internal organs. But you don't see any external wounds going on. So there's, like, no external wounds, but all the internal stuff, it's like your insides are being scrambled by a freaking, I guess, a butcher or something. I don't know how to describe that besides that. But, yeah, Doffy's organs got destroyed. And supposedly Doffy, in the middle of the chapter, said, like, oh, I can use my strings, and I'm just, like, stitching back up my organs. It's not really 100% healing. He's, like, just stitching his body back together with his strings, and it kind of makes sense if you think about it. I mean, he is a string user, a string user, and so, yeah, I mean, it makes sense how you'd be able to stitch yourself back up. I mean, I know how some would have issues with Doffy doing that type of operation, or, healing himself kind of with, his strings inside of his body, but we have to figure he is a string user, and he can do stuff like that, so I guess I could look past that, but I'm glad that Law did a lot of damage to Doffy. Like, I mean, he definitely is going to play a major role in Doffy's defeat. Because Doffy, at the end of this chapter, even though he doesn't look it, he's probably really injured after what Law just did to him in this chapter. It's probably going to play a vital role in Luffy defeating Doffy in the upcoming chapters. That is pretty much the chapter when it comes to One Piece this week. I mean, it was a good chapter. I could see how some would have issues when it comes to certain elements of the chapter, especially when it came to Law, surviving because of his vital organs. Manga Panda made it look absurd. It really did. Manga Panda, oh my god, if I would have read that first and then done a review on it, this review would have been completely different. It really would have. It really would have. So I'm glad I waited until Manga Stream to come out before I did this review, because it just clarified a lot of things, and it makes a lot more sense. And the room thing too, actually, let's mention that real quick. The room that Law used, he actually made the room bigger than he's ever done in the series. He made this room so big that Doffy couldn't detect that he put up a room, because it was just that fucking big. So yeah, that's also how Law was able to do all of these things. So regardless of that, that is pretty much this chapter of One Piece. It was a good chapter. It's not the best. It's definitely not the best chapter, but it was a good chapter. The ending is hype, and Law is not dead. So tell me your thoughts in the comments below. Please be safe. Chibi out.